Thanks so much for joining us here on Atlanta News First Plus. I'm Joy Lim Nakron. Okay, just want to let you know, I want to show you this live look here. This is just a microphone. I know that that's not that exciting, but I want to let you know that we're just keeping our eyes on a press conference that is about to begin at any moment now, and that is because several Atlanta residents are expected to announce through their attorney that they will be suing the city of Atlanta. Let me show you some video that really tells the story as to why. So it's dozens of residents who are planning to file this lawsuit against the city. And what they're claiming is that there have been infrastructure failures, essentially due to poor city planning and management. So West Side residents in particular tell Atlanta News First that the city failed to maintain its combined stormwater sewage infrastructure, and this has resulted in flooding, causing property loss, causing sickness, disease. The announcement's set to happen really at any moment now on the steps of City Hall. I showed you how we have a microphone set up there, and we're going to bring that to you live just as soon as that begins. I want to talk a little bit about some of the storm damage today. This is unrelated to the lawsuit, but this is just some of the footage that we've captured around Metro Atlanta as communities clean up from the storm damage, because we all know, I think most of us know, there was some pretty wicked weather around the area that toppled a lot of trees onto homes, like you see right here, and power lines as well. What you're looking at is there was a condo building in Decatur that was crushed by a massive tree, and the Decatur fire chief says no one was hurt, thankfully, but the building at Columns at East Hill Apartments is unlivable right now. One side of the brick building completely destroyed. Georgia Power actually cut service to that building to ensure there were no electrical risks from the damage. You see that unsafe sign up there. The tree removal service Arbor Guard tree specialist is going to cut up that tree, remove it from the building. Other areas of the metro saw a lot of tree damage as well. But what is coming up next? That is the question. So for that, let's bring in First Alert meteorologist Rodney Harris.
Okay, Joy, good morning to you. So we want to focus on Friday. Friday is our next First Alert weather day here in Metro Atlanta, where we are expecting some rain, Joy. So we get a bit of a break today, but the rain is back on Friday, and it's a cold rain that will impact us here in Metro Atlanta. So here's what you can expect. Rain. It'll be cold. One thing I will say, Joy, is that unlike yesterday where we did see some severe thunderstorms, we're not forecasting any severe weather today, which is certainly good. So let's take it to the high-resolution forecast model. This is for tomorrow. By the way, hello. Happy Thursday to you, everybody. I do want to point out that as we get into Friday, today you don't have to worry about any rain. It will be cloudy out there and cool with highs only in the 50s, but no rain today. And that's what you see here on our high-resolution forecast model. By tonight, like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, that's when showers will start to move into North Georgia. As you get to work on Friday morning, you will have to dodge some showers. We're not forecasting heavy rain in the morning, but the roads will certainly be wet. It looks like the heavier rain is moving in on Friday afternoon. That's what you see on the right-hand side of your screen. This is around lunchtime, so lunchtime on Friday is not looking great. It'll be raining, and it'll be chilly with temperatures only in the 40s. That rain will continue throughout the entire afternoon, and then by 5 o'clock, the heaviest rain will start to move east of Metro Atlanta. So if you have any plans Friday night, I'm going to fast forward to around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. There will be a stray shower or two out there, but it'll actually be mostly dry Friday night. So Friday is a First Alert weather day, and the impacts will really be in the morning and in the afternoon. By Friday evening, you can keep your plans. It should be mostly dry. Now, there will be a shower or two, but again, mostly dry. And then as we go into Saturday, Saturday morning, a few showers will still be out there up until about lunchtime. That coverage is at 20%. And then by Saturday afternoon, it will also start to dry out. So in terms of the total rain, I wanted to put this up because, again, we got rain and severe storms yesterday. We get a break today. But this is showing an additional half an inch to inch of rain in North Georgia tomorrow. So we'll be watching for that as well. That is our First Alert weather day for tomorrow. As we go into the weekend is looking drier. We will see this weekend a slight chance of rain each day, but the coverage is only at like 20%, so you can keep your weekend plans. I'll also point out we are working on your forecast for next week. It does look like our rain chances will ramp back up Tuesday into Wednesday, so after we get past the rain on Friday, we might have a First Alert weather day either Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. We're still trying to fine-tune the timing on that rain, but we're going to fairly active pattern here across North Georgia, so you'll have multiple opportunities to get wet. We're focused on Friday, and we'll keep you up to date on that with an updated forecast on Atlanta News First at noon. Until then, we hope you guys have an amazing Thursday. And for now, I'm going to send it back over to Joy because you have more news to follow.
Thank you so much, Rodney. So I just want to give you guys a look here on the steps of City Hall right now. This is where we're expecting that news conference to begin.
And once they get here,
Let's
go
listen.
ahead and begin. But thank you for waiting.
So what you've just heard there is the announcement that they are waiting for a couple more individuals associated with this lawsuit to get there to the steps of City Hall. I know that the weather has impacted so many of us, so it would just giving it a couple minutes here. But once again, we are just awaiting some remarks. At any moment now. Let me just bring down the volume on when they're having some side conversations. But we are awaiting this announcement of a lawsuit from the law office of Megan S. Jones. And as I mentioned to you, this is a lawsuit against the city of Atlanta that is expected to be announced here momentarily. And it's dozens of residents who are banding together and filing this lawsuit with this attorney. And what they're claiming is infrastructure failures. So let me just show you a little bit of the footage that really kind of tells the story of what their grievance is. And it's this massive flooding. And it's West Side residents in particular who are saying that the city has failed to maintain its combined stormwater, sewage, infrastructure, and all that you're looking at, all this video, they say is what the result is. So these residents say that these failures have resulted in flooding, causing property loss, sickness, disease, very troubling. Let's go ahead back out live and see what we can hear.
Many of my clients to speak about the atrocities they have endured as a result of the City of Atlanta's failing sewage infrastructure. As you are aware, today we are filing the first of several lawsuits against the City of Atlanta for the failure of their combined stormwater sewage system. This problem is not new. Rather, this problem has spanned over many decades and many mayoral administrations. In 1999, a federal court ordered the City of Atlanta to take remedial measures to eliminate the city's continuing violations of the Clean Water Act. The city was further ordered to eliminate water quality violations from unsanitary sewer overflows. The City of Atlanta, however, has ignored these directives. Specifically, the city has ignored these directives as it pertains to the West Side of Atlanta. And more specifically, they have ignored these directives as it pertains to my clients in the Hunter Hills, Weston Heights, English Avenue, and Vine City neighborhoods, all of which are historically Black neighborhoods. In doing so, the city has established two Atlantas, an Atlanta that benefits from working sewage systems, and another Atlanta whose residents live in fear of sewage water containing fecal matter, bacteria, and toxins entering their homes. The city is aware of the problem, but rather than addressing it directly, the city has tried to shift blame and mislead the community. For years, the city has told residents that the flooding is caused by defects in their homes. For years, the city has told residents that adjacent properties caused the flooding. For years, the city has told tenants that their landlords are to blame. And most horrifically, for years, the City of Atlanta has told residents that the water flooding their homes was not sewage. As you can see in the picture taken next to me, on September 14th by one of my clients, the source of the water is clearly from the sewer. Atlanta utilizes combined stormwater and sewage drains. What that means is that raw sewage from toilets goes into the same system as rain runoff. It is imperative that a system like this is maintained and expanded as necessary. However, Atlanta's infrastructure is failing. When large rain events happen, combined sewer and stormwater erupt from the system. If there is enough water, the runoff has nowhere to go but into people's homes. This is a picture taken in the aftermath of the September 14th flood. As you can see from the watermark on the walls, water entering my client's home rose as high as 5 feet. The City of Atlanta has not informed residents that the water contains sewage and thus fecal matter. In some instances, representatives have told residents that the water is just rainwater. By failing to tell residents that it is sewage entering their homes, they have prevented residents from making informed decisions about their health and well-being. Now, I have been using flooding in the colloquial sense so that people can understand the scope of the problem, but to be clear, FEMA has not designated this as a flood. This is not a natural disaster. This is not an act of God. This is an act of malfeasance by the City of Atlanta. Each of my clients has a horrific story to tell about what they endured, and some are here to tell you today. The lawsuit we filed today is on behalf of Madi Cheney, his spouse Maureen Bullock, and their 2 children. Mr. Cheney will now speak to you about what his family has endured. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Good morning, everybody. First off, I appreciate everyone for being here. Your presence here is crucial in shedding light on the challenges we as a community face. Before I dive into the heart of the matter, let me express my true love for the City of Atlanta. The city is not just a place on the map for me. It's my birthplace, my upbringing, and a place I proudly call home. I've even have the city tattooed right here on my arm. My connection to Atlanta runs deep, and it's this very connection that has fueled my passion to address the issues we're confronting. As someone who typically buys the ugliest house on the street, and many times the property that was used to operate illegal activities, I've done my part to uplift and clean up my community through renovation and reinvigoration. I am also a real estate agent that has moved many of my clients and colleagues into the city, ultimately confirming my love and appreciation for the City of Atlanta. I want to make it clear that my intent is not to see anyone lose their job, especially those working hard in the Department of Watershed Management, some of whom are my personal friends. My purpose here is to highlight the necessity for everyone to fulfill their responsibilities and ensure that our city functions efficiently. I made efforts to address these issues before my own home suffered damage, reaching out to leaders in an attempt to fix the problems in advance of the flood. In this process, difficult revelations surfaced, and the truth behind these matters will come to light in court. I must say it's very interesting that 2.5 inches of rain caused 12 feet of floodwater. As a graduate of Morehouse College, I felt so bad watching Clark Atlanta University students trapped in their dorm rooms from the flooding. I could only imagine the fear that they encountered. By the way, you all should reach out to Megan Jones if you're one of those victims. As the water filled my home, I tried everything possible to prevent the water from getting into my home. My hands began to shake as I tried to seal the back door. Moments later, the strong water smashed in my back door. As I ran through the sewage water, I saw the water spilling in through the windows, and that triggered a swift decision to evacuate. We were forced to move into one of my rental properties, causing a loss of income from our growing family. My daughter is here. Particularly my better half, Morgan, who delivered our second child 7 weeks early, the following week due to the stress of losing many of her belongings in the flooding. This is also very tough on her because she still grapples with the trauma of losing her brother in a drowning accident years ago. Having been born and raised in Southwest Atlanta and educated in Northwest Atlanta, I have long observed the stark disparities between the two areas. The visible neglect in infrastructure, housing, and public services has become an unfortunate norm for residents of the so-called Lower West Side. This extends beyond what meets the eye, encompassing latent defects such as contaminated water, lead-infused soil, sewage backups, and airborne illnesses. Of course, you can hear my daughter here. She wants to speak up too. And it's become visibly evident as this case unfolds. We stand here today to hold the City of Atlanta and the Department of Watershed Management accountable for negligence. Negligence in our context is a failure to take proper care in doing something. And for us, it translates to feeling neglected by our own city. This neglect is not a new experience for many of us who've arrived here in America as brown and black immigrants, encountering neglect in various aspects of our lives, from unfulfilled freedoms to poor education, non-existent police protection, and basic essential public services. Our pursuit of justice is rooted in the belief that every citizen, regardless of their address, deserves equitable access to public services. The disparities are evident in traffic lights, speed bumps, sidewalks, crosswalks, bike lanes, and police interactions. Disparities between these neighborhoods must be addressed, and the best practices for the city should be applied universally, not just in affluent areas like Buckhead. The crux of our legal action is to hold the city accountable for negligence. We demand fair treatment and an end to substandard public services that have persisted far too long. Our cause is not just about property damage. It's about rectifying the systemic inefficiencies ingrained in our communities. After extensive research, conversations, and my experience with the flooding of my own home, I recognize the need to champion this cause for my community. The sewage issues I faced were symbolic of a broader problem that seemed to be overlooked. Numerous attempts to seek help were met with delays and bureaucratic runarounds until September 14th, when I felt compelled to speak up for the elders who have endured these conditions for decades and are having to deal with yet another flood. It's like an annual thing. Moreover, the health disparities in Atlanta are glaring. After purchasing my home, I discovered it was built atop the main sewer lateral 69 years ago, serving all of West Atlanta, which has exposed my family to airborne toxins. Past studies confirm the health risks associated with such conditions. We refuse to accept the status quo, and we will fight until there is change. In conclusion, my own family has a history of serving this nation, with veterans contributing to the great American wars. It's disheartening to see that this very country that they fought for is failing to provide the basic necessities promised to its citizens. We demand corrective actions, and we will not sit here any longer and be quiet as our predecessors were forced to do. It's time for change, and we're committed to fighting for it in a court of law. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cheney. Miss Brenda Collins will speak next. On September 14th, her home experienced significant flooding and property damage. Ms. Collins originally initiated a claim with the city, attempting to resolve the issues on her own. However, city representatives have ignored Ms. Collins, forcing her to retain legal counsel.
Thank you, Attorney. My name is Brenda Collins. I am a member, long-term member of the Old English Avenue community. I'm also one whose home basement was damaged by the September 14th flood. I was devastated. I live alone, me and my cats. Some City of Atlanta elected officials came out, along with some employees came out the next day or day after, and promised that they would take responsibility for the damages as part of the flood, as a result of the flood. I felt relieved and hopeful. They sent out a company to clean out my basement, packed my undamaged goods for storage, and trashed all damaged items. I contacted the mayor's office to see if I should use vendors to provide quotes. I received no response. Emailed and called, and no response. I had to submit the inventory of all damages, So I contacted vendors on my own to provide them with quotes, the city of Atlanta with quotes. I needed new tile, I needed drywall. The whole basement was damaged severely. Each vendor that came out and provided me with quotes stated that no work could be done until a test of mold and asbestos had been done because of the water damage in the basement. The employees told me to contact this office if I had not heard from them in 2 weeks. This is the city of Atlanta. I contacted them. Again, this is after I submitted the inventory list, which included the quotes. I contacted them and gave them 3 weeks to contact me. I talked with 2 people in the city of Atlanta after I had initiated the phone calls. Both were investigators. Neither conversation explained the next step, except the second person said, I will send out a letter to all people whose property was damaged by mid next week. I gave them 3 weeks. I waited 3 weeks. I was so disappointed. I felt that I had been disrespected as an individual, as a community, and I felt I had been lied to, or I knew I had been. I received no letter. I felt that they had forgotten us. I realized some of the things that had been done in Atlanta, and I'm going to particularly mention Lenox Square Mall, because they rushed to get a security system in there immediately to keep Buckhead from separating from the city of Atlanta. And it's been months since our flood, and nothing has been done. Note, the Atlanta Watershed Management team member called me and said to me that we have a company that will come in and repair your basement. However, you will need to sign a contract stating that you will not hold City of Atlanta responsible. I was totally insulted. I said, yeah, I'll talk to the company, but I will not sign anything relieving the City of Atlanta from taking responsibility for not only my damage, but for others. I continue to ask the city to take responsibility. We are members of a long-term community. We voted him in, the mayor. We voted the mayor in because he's responsible for these contracts. We voted him in under the intention that he would take care of his community. We trusted him. And as of today, nothing. So I took the second option, and that was to seek legal representation. I no longer wanted to be insulted. I no longer to be disrespected as I feel I had been. So I've turned it over to attorney. I thank you for listening. I thank you for sharing these stories that we have shared and will share. And hopefully something good will come out of it. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Collins. Next, we will hear from Ms. LaVonda Moore. Her husband is Brian Hudley. The couple share 5 beautiful children who are standing here with us today. Ms. Moore's family has endured flooding for years. Her family moved from one home to escape flooding to a nearby home. Unfortunately, on September 14th, that home also flooded. as the infrastructure issues in Atlanta have worsened in recent years.
Hi everyone, good morning. I'm LaVonda Moore. The city of Atlanta has failed, misled, lied, and disgusted my family. How you say? They gave us the runaround on who was responsible. They told us the flood was rainwater, turns out to be sewer water, toxic waste, and other harmful things. They told us mold was caused by other things that was our landlord's responsibility. They blamed the flood on the way the foundation was built. We as a family had to deal with rats, snakes, spiders, and other rodents and critters entering the home. They caused the fallout between us and the landlord. They caused us to get illegally evicted. We dealt with loss of income, had to spend money we did not have on food, transportation, storage, and a hotel stay. It damaged my kids mentally, emotionally, all due to lies. All the city had to do was be honest. Honest to the fact that they were responsible, that they did not unclog the drains for decades, and that they had us exposed to things that damaged our health in the future. I pray that no one has to deal with the physical, mental, and emotional things that we dealt with. I pray that the city owns up to what they have done to all their families and that they have failed and make this right. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. We also have Ms. Tanya Pittman here, and she is going to provide a statement as well.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Tanya Pittman, and I own the property located at 272 Joseph E. Lowry Boulevard, and my brother Wayne Pittman, he owns and lives at the property at 264 Joseph E. Lowry. We inherited this property in 1991 from my Uncle Woody Berry. He built these homes in 1935. His brother Jim Berry built the home located at 152 Joseph E. Lowry Boulevard in 1920, which after his death passed through several owners. Two cousins also built homes on this block located between Mason Turner Road and Ashby Circle. So historically, my family has been a part of this neighborhood, this community, for over 100 years. After inheriting this property, I became aware of the flooding issues, or what is called overflow or wastewater mismanagement. And I began talking with Ivory Lee Young, the councilman at the time, about the problem. This neighborhood was experiencing severe problems at the time with drugs, prostitution, crime, dilapidated houses, you name it. If it was negative, it was going on in that community. Councilman Young began working to get rid of the drugs and crimes that was primarily coming from Rock Street. So our properties sit directly across the street from Rock Street. I would attend the neighborhood meetings and discuss the issues of flooding amongst the other issues that I just mentioned. When Shirley Franklin became mayor, I presented the problem of flooding in the area to her administration as well. I suppose she recognized the problem was larger than just my issues, and she began her citywide sewer infrastructure repair and update program. During her administration, the sewer drains in front of the houses were cleared. They were ridiculously clogged with stuff like furniture. They pulled sofas out of the sewer drains. But her administrator, nor any of her successors, they never addressed the sewer easement problems that are on these properties. Behind these properties are actually easements for the sewer system that the city will not address. I have presented this to them several times. I informed Councilman Young and the sewer department about the problem. I complained to the tax assessor's office as well, but no one ever addressed this problem. There was a time when code enforcement once tried to cite us for overgrowth in the alleyway that's behind the two homes, and I informed them that the city owns the alleyway. And I sent them sketches of the property which shows that the city owns that alleyway and was responsible for clearing it and cleaning it up. They never did anything. I've complained to code enforcement on several occasions about the pile of junk at the entrance of the alleyway, which prevents anyone from using the alley. But code enforcement doesn't do anything about it, just like the city doesn't do anything about the clogged sewer easements. I needed to protect my property from the damages caused by the flooding or water overflow. So for years, I've been trying various methods for water abatement, as well as keeping the watershed department informed about the sewer drain that's in front of the house to make sure they keep it cleared and unclogged. The backyard still fills up like a swimming pool whenever it rains and the water comes into the basement. I've spent lots of money. I've made costly adjustments to try to redirect the water and reduce the amount of water that comes into the basement, but the problem still exists. We need the city to step up and take care of this problem that's been going on for decades. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pittman. In close, I'm going to read a statement from Mr. Raymond Bruce. Mr. Bruce wanted to be here today, but he could not attend this event because he is currently in the hospital. He is battling a series of health conditions, and he is also battling this case. So I will read Mr. Bruce's statement that he really wanted you guys to hear. Good morning. My name is Raymond Bruce. I want to share how that fateful day in September changed my life. My sister was visiting my apartment with some of her children. We sat outside because it seemed like it was going to be a nice day. All of a sudden, these huge drops of rain began to pour, and we ran into the house. It couldn't have been 2 minutes later that my neighbor came banging on my door, saying, "Please move your car, it's going to flood." I was looking in amazement because the water was already up to my ankles. After moving the car, the water level had risen to my calf muscles, and it was flowing into both my front and back doors. Within 20 minutes, I lost priceless photos, clothes, TVs, and so many things I can never get back, like pictures and certificates. I won't give you a whole list here. Just know I've lost everything. I was homeless, and I had a sickle cell crisis to boot from the stress. In closing, I'm still fighting daily to replace what I can. It's a hard process to watch your life washed away in 20 minutes. I played the scene over and over in my head, wondering if I could have done something different. I agonize over what I won't ever be able to get back. Thank you. At this point, we will take questions from the press. You can pose those questions to me or to my individual clients that have spoken. Yes.
Can you talk about the damages that this lawsuit will seek? Is it costs for repairs? What are you guys hoping for?
Yes. We will be seeking damages for damage to personal property, to real property, meaning real estate, and to damages to the house themselves, for personal injuries in the form of medical illness that have been caused by exposure to toxins, for health visits, visits to doctors, hospitalizations after the subsequent exposure. Additionally, we are going to be pursuing inverse condemnation actions because, in a nutshell, this has constituted a governmental taking. The city of Atlanta is prioritizing other properties to the detriment of my clients' properties, and thus they need to compensate them for that unjustified taking. Yes.
You mentioned a couple times the part of town that this is in, and kind of like alluded to the fact. Do you think that this is rooted in racism in some way?
I do. I think it's driven by racial disparities and also economic disparities, two things that often go hand in hand in the city of Atlanta and in other areas of our nation, unfortunately.
Is there a specific dollar amount that you're seeking?
It depends on the plaintiff and their case. We are filing several lawsuits. We are dividing those lawsuits based off of households. So this is group litigation. It's not a class action. And yes, for the lawsuit that we are filing today on behalf of the Cheney Bullock family, we have previously filed an anti-litem notice with the city and have demanded $5 million. The demand we are making for the various households is dependent on the amount of damages they incurred, health expenses, damage to their property, and also the number of people in the household that were affected.
Can you talk about how this plays into the federal consent decree that the city is in? Does that increase, possible penalties in these cases? How does that work?
Yes, so regarding the federal consent decree, thank you for asking that. The City of Atlanta has been under a federal consent decree for almost 25 years now, in which they were provided or ordered by a federal judge to follow a maintenance plan. We have spoken with experts, former watershed employees and contractors of watershed who have said that the city has not followed the directives and has not followed the judge's order to repair the infrastructure. They have followed it in some parts of Atlanta, but they have not followed it in my clients' communities. So yes, we will be seeking punitive damages because they have ignored those directives. This goes beyond just a nuisance case. This goes beyond, my clients making individual complaints, series of complaints to the City of Atlanta. This has been a direct and deliberate violation of a court order for several decades.
The flooding issues in these neighborhoods have been known for many years, and I'm curious, is this the first really large batch of lawsuits that have been seen after a major flood, or what is the case history between these neighborhoods and the city in the past?
No, this isn't the first time. And in the press release that we sent out, there are some links that reference prior lawsuits. About 10 years ago, there were a series of lawsuits that were filed against the city for water damage, mostly occurring in the People's Town neighborhoods. And some of those lawsuits were settled. Some went to trial. The attorney that filed those cases was largely successful in those cases in front of a jury. And some cases were appealed by the city, and the residents won an appeal. So to my knowledge, we haven't seen these cases again since 10 years ago, but more should have been filed. I don't know why more attention has not been brought to the community. I think because the administrations have gone to residents and have made promises in person to repair things, so it's given people false hope. So I think that's why we have not seen folks pursuing litigation, because the administration is telling people they're going to fix it, and they're not.
Has city council been helpful at all? I know that there was a special, a stormwater joint meeting of a couple committees a few months back. Can you talk about communication that residents have had with their elected officials in their area?
Yes, well, my clients have spoken a lot about their attempts to talk to people. And no, they have tried and they've had some conversations, but nothing has been done. I'm aware that there was a big, there's money that has been put towards budgeting repairs in the, I believe, the entrenchment camp area, or entrenchment creek on Custard Avenue, which is, south of Atlanta, but that's in a different area. And yes, that's a good start, but that is not going to benefit or improve the situation on the west side. So no, City Council has not made any promises, statements, have not allocated any money to fix these issues. Meanwhile, Watershed is maintaining and fixing issues in South Buckhead and other parts of Atlanta. You can look it up on Collier Street just 2 weeks ago, Collier Road. 2 weeks ago, Watershed was out there repairing the stormwater sewage drain. They excavated certain parts of Collier, they shut down roads 2 or 3 nights in a row, and they were cleaning up the sewers. So Watershed is helping some parts of Atlanta, but they are not, to my knowledge, helping the west side.
What's the next step with all of this? What happens next? Is it clerically or whatever?
Well, we're in the process of still filing those ante-litem notices. Under Georgia law, we are required to give the city notice of the potential lawsuit within 6 months from the date of the incident. So 6 months from September 14th, we've got to put them on notice for this particular flood. So that deadline is March 14th. We've already filed that ante-litem notice for a few of our clients. We have to give the city 30 days to reply. For the Cheney Bullock family, that 30 days has lapsed, and therefore we are filing that lawsuit. We are open to discussions with the city. Our concern, though, is that for many of my clients, their concern is that if we, quietly settle these cases, as was done, 10 years ago for some of the cases, changes won't happen. And we linked an old article 10 years ago where there was a comment made by the city that this is just the cost of doing business. And rather than fix the problem, it is cheaper to pay people out, pay people money, just so it'll go away.
And you said 30 days has elapsed. You've heard nothing from the city.
Yes, we have received correspondence. They are receipt of our notice. They have asked to speak to my clients, which I will not allow that until we are in discovery. And they have asked for some supporting documents, which we will provide in discovery. So to further answer your question, next steps is a lawsuit, several lawsuits. I expect that we will file approximately 16 lawsuits on behalf of our plaintiffs. And those again are the 16 households at this point that we are representing. That number is growing every day. So it's approximately 40 plaintiffs. So once the lawsuits are filed, litigation will ensue, discovery will ensue, depositions will start. We'll start exchanging documents with the city. We'll have the ability to get a lot of documents from the city. We will have our experts deposed. They'll be providing information, and we will be able to get a lot of information from the city. From there, perhaps there will be settlements. But again, a lot of my clients, they want to go all the way to the end of this, in which case there would be a jury trial. We would go before peers in our community, 12 individuals that will have a say on what should be the outcome in these cases. I will say a lot of my clients who do want to see the city of Atlanta changed, we are open to settling with the city if a settlement will come with a promise and a plan to fix this problem, and a promise and the plan to comply with the federal consent decree.
I suspect that everyone wants to stay in their home. Can you just talk to the point, or maybe someone here can, of why that's important for someone? They've been in that community for so long, and it's their home, and they want to stay there. They want to.
Yeah. Well, I'll speak on that, and then my clients would speak on that as well. It means their home. Everyone has a personal attachment to their homes. The homes are sacred. They hold memories. They hold, just the memories alone. We're talking about replacement of personal property, but even if we replace that through payments, folks can never get those memories, good memories, back. They will forever be clouded by the really horrific memories of having to flee from their home. Now, a lot of my residents, some of my clients have been able and can afford to leave the homes. They have moved out at great expense to themselves. Some people, because of financial restrictions, they can't afford to move. We're in the process of trying to assist them with securing pre-resolution funding in order for them to move, to get out of these, get away from these toxins. But at this point, the reality is a lot of people have not been able to move. There's a lot of folks who have not retained counsel, who are still living in those homes. And I would urge anyone who's listening to this to either take steps to file the ante-litem notice on their own before March 14th, or to retain legal counsel, any legal counsel. Did anybody want to speak about, the loss of their home and what that means, to answer? I'm sorry, sir, what's your name? Don to answer Don's question about why it is so important to keep the home. Hey, Don, could you ask your question again?
Terry's coming. Just talk to the point of Terry's coming down. Of staying in your home. Why is it? I suspect it's really important if you want to stay in your home. And just tell us why.
Oh, well, I did want to stay in my home because...
Let's get your name first.
Oh, yes. My name is Terry Samuels Gordon. I was at 1247 Joseph E. Boone. That was my first apartment. Sorry, this is kind of sorry. But people want to stay in their homes because they build it from the ground up. Having lost my first apartment and everything I worked hard for 4 years, and having my own business and everything, it's like you want the memories of the things that you build, and you want it to not be completely destroyed.
So it's important for us to keep these houses because it's a part of our heritage. My family ancestors built these homes during a day when black people didn't own property. This is in 1935, 1920s. Those houses are sturdy, they're good homes. People harass us all the time about wanting to buy it. Why would we want to sell it when we have heritage there? It's our roots. It's important to us. And just like other neighborhoods are maintained, these houses are the same houses that's over in Ansley Park. Now, if you go to Ansley Park, those houses are now $1 million houses. You know, but they would not give us the credit because they would not maintain our community. I remember the days in the 1960s when I would visit my uncles, and actually they kept us when we were toddlers. You know, so it's a part of me. And I don't want to just give up a part of me just because the city won't step up.
How you doing? My name is Brian Hetley. I just want to say something that I think is blatant and more apparent than anything. Due to history and the recurrent history of blacks being forced out of their property, forced to not be able to keep and pass down generational wealth to their children, which is like the most important thing a family could do, is to keep a house, just a house and property that will over time increase. Like she said, like Ansley. I used to work as a chef in Ansley Golf Club. Those houses are $1 million houses now. I think it's kind of noticeably that such things like old black towns being flooded out, I think it's like the same thing. And to not care, my 3 youngest daughters grew up as babies in our house, which was full of sewer, rats, rodents, snakes chasing the rodents into our house. Nobody ever did nothing. My youngest is 3 years old now. My oldest is 8. This is how long they was living in that predicament. And to see no one do anything, to me, is a kick in the face, because I know what it is. It's the same thing that you did to all the Lake Laniers and all the other black historical towns, except for this time you're not killing us fast, it's just gonna kill us slow, make you move, make you give up your generational wealth so that we can't have an Ansley, so that we can't have a Buckhead. And I think, you know, it's a slap in the face, in that the city should feel some type of something on the inside just to prove that you're not that type of people. That's it.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Stafford. I've lived at 1247 Joseph E. Boone Boulevard. This would be the second time I went through this flood. The reason why I felt like the home was good for me, because me and my kids was on the streets for 2 years. So that was my very first apartment with my kids. I lost everything. I contacted the city. The city said, oh, it's not my fault. It belongs to the watershed. But isn't the watershed part of the city? Right. The watershed, oh, it belongs to someone, we don't know who it belongs to.
It belongs to the city. Y'all come out, y'all check the water mains, y'all do all that. But what you don't do is keep it clear. The day of that happening to my brother, I was there. I panicked. I had my grandson there. I panicked. I lost it. My brother's dog was terrified to even go out the door because the water was up to his neck, so we had to carry him. Buckhead doesn't go through this. Anything Buckhead designs and wants, the city provides for them. And it's not fair. It really is not fair. We try to do things for our neighborhood, and we get reprimanded for it. Yes, now they want to take a big Proctor's Creek, a beautiful walk park. What about the neighborhood? What about beautifying the neighborhood? What about helping the residents beautify the neighborhood? What are we there for? To be abused, mistreated, misunderstood? I don't feel like it's fair. A lot of people lost a lot of things that day. A lot of people lost a lot of things a while back. They blame the department. It's not their fault. If they keep their drainage clean and board it off where it cannot overflow the way it does, it'll be a little help. So that's what it means to lose a home.
Thank you. Are there any additional questions today? Okay. Well, thank you for attending this very important press conference. Again, we are going to be filing our first lawsuit later today. If there are any additional questions, feel free to reach out to my office, and I can also put you in touch with my clients if they wish to give a further statement. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you.
All right, so you've just been listening live to that announcement about a lawsuit. Several Atlanta residents banding together and suing the city for failures that they say caused flooding. And you heard some of the detail there. They talked about not only damage to their property, but to their health. They talked about becoming sick. They talked about rats and snakes coming onto their property. They talked about sewage water coming onto their property. And so that's really the basis of the lawsuit. We're going to continue to follow the latest on this. Of course, this focuses on the west side of Atlanta. And you know, what the residents are alleging is improper infrastructure and maintenance surrounding, you know, water and sewage. And it's something that I see now live. They're showing a couple images. So I'm going to show that to you. But the lawsuit is being filed today. I do want to let you know that we have an attorney joining us for a live stream at 1 p.m. and we're going to take a closer look at this lawsuit and break down kind of what it means here on Atlanta News First Plus. Also want to let you know that just in a few minutes at 11 o'clock, we are expecting another lawsuit announcement, and this is surrounding the death of a young woman, 19-year-old bystander, who was shot near the Georgia State University late last month. And we're going to bring you that live at 11 o'clock. Thanks for being with us. And if you haven't yet done so, please subscribe to our YouTube channel.